Today I'm going to make some stuffed buns. First I'm going to start off by caramelizing some onions. So I'm going to stuff them with caramelized onion, some cooked hamburger meat with lots of rosemary and garlic and a bit of Dijon, maybe a bit of mozzarella. Things that are going to make you go, oh yeah, when you taste the buns. So I got a couple of small onions here. Let's get the pan on medium-high to get started. You don't need to cut these too small because basically after you caramelize them, they're just going to melt down into nothing anyway. Let's get the yucky bits off. One thing I discovered that when you are planning or thinking about making a video about cooking, you figure that you probably really need to kind of clean up your kitchen. It's like, things that don't bother you on a day-to-day basis, you don't want showing up in the video background. Okay. So I'm just cutting them this way because, like I said, they're going to melt down into nothingness anyway. Caramelizing onions is one way to get them so sweet and fabulous, but you really want to be able to do it ahead of time because it takes a good 30 to 45 minutes. You cannot rush it because they're just going to burn. You're not frying the onions. You need them to go low and slow. I start on medium-high, but after they get going, I'm going to turn them down to medium-low. You just want to keep them kind of simmering and sizzling slightly. Okay, there. So I put a little bit of oil in the pan. Today I'm using some canola oil. You can use olive oil. Some people like a mixture of olive oil and butter for flavor. It's really kind of what works for you. Okay, so I'm not going to put anything else on them right now. I'm going to put the lid, just kind of wait till it sizzles and comes up to the heat. And then I will be back. Okay, the onions have been, as you can see, caramelizing nicely for a while. I diced in about 4 garlic cloves and put in some fresh dried rosemary. Do you know you can dry rosemary really easy in the microwave? You wash it, make sure it is dry, otherwise you're going to steam it. Put it on a plate between some paper towel and then basically cook it on high for about a minute or so at a time until it gets to a nice dry, crunchy consistency. So now I'm going to start the hamburger. So as you can see, those 2 onions basically just caramelized down into almost nothingness. But the flavor is so sweet. A bit of salt, some fresh black pepper, garlic, and rosemary. That's all that's in there so far. So we'll let that sit. And now get the ground beef going. Basically do a little bit of salt, not too much. Lots of pepper, and I just want to get this really nicely browned up. And then we'll return. And apparently when I hit play it didn't work. So you've missed my making of this beautiful mess. So here's the end result, so I'll just quickly go over it. You have 2 cups of flour in the bowl. You add in the yeast and some salt. And in a separate bowl you have the lukewarm water, a bit of oil, sugar, lemon juice, I use lime juice, and a slightly beaten egg. You mix that all together, add in the remaining about 2 to 2.5 cups of flour until it comes almost, to a nice dough. Put it out on the counter. Kneaded it. I only actually had to knead it for a couple more minutes until it comes to a nice elasticy dough. As you can see here, it's looking really good. So slightly oiled. And now we are basically going to cover this and just leave it for half an hour, or well, actually about an hour, until it's doubled in size, and then we'll be ready for the next step. So I will go for now and clean up my mess, and I'll see you back here in about an hour. Okay, so it's been an hour. The dough has risen, as you can see, to double in size. So I've got the filling, which is the hamburger with the caramelized onions, lots of garlic, rosemary, some Dijon. I've got some grated mozzarella cheese, and we've got beaten egg for egg wash, and some sesame seeds so we can make our buns look pretty, because everybody wants to have pretty buns. So basically, we got the dough here. So we want to punch it down, which is always fun to do. And then we want to divide it into smaller bits, about the size of a kiwi for measurement. I made these in the Christmas time with my sister, which is where I first learned about the recipe. And we thought we were making them small enough, but they ended up to be a lot more gianter than we thought. One good way to get your dough kind of, split into pieces easily is just to put it in a line and then just make some cuts and get it cut down that way. Let's see if this makes about the size of a kiwi. I don't know, anybody looks like okay, well, I think that looks about the size of a kiwi, or as my niece used to call them, fuzzy potatoes. So now we're just going to make a bit of a well here. Kind of roll it out a little bit. Just going to use my fingers. Okay, so now they say put a little bit of cheese in. And then we want about a tablespoon or so of filling. And then we want to stretch the dough so it closes completely over it. And you make a nice seam at the bottom. See, so it looks pretty on top. We will start putting those on a cookie sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and get these all done because I'm sure you'd be bored to tears watching me do this the entire time. And when they're ready to go in the oven, I'll give you another before shot. See you soon. Okay, so I've got about 1.5 trays done. I used up all of my filling. I did have to add a little bit extra cheese. I might have been a little generous. So these need to rise covered until they're double in size, about 30 minutes to an hour. Then they get brushed with egg wash, sprinkled with sesame seeds, and then baked in a 350 oven for about 20 minutes. And I'll show you when they come out. So here are the risen buns, ready to go in the oven. So we've got some beaten egg. Just going to give them a little egg wash. Make them look nice and shiny, and also it will help the sesame seeds to stick. And no, as you can see, they're not exactly the same size. And yeah, even though it's like you try and start with a kiwi size shape or size of dough, they really puff up a lot. So you'd almost want to make them a small kiwi size. Because of course, when you put the dough in, it stretches it out. Or put the filling in, it stretches it out. But these come out, they're so fabulous. And they kind of have a bit of a, like a pocket kind of. So if you wanted to stuff some diced tomato and lettuce inside before you eat it, you certainly could. These freeze really well, so you can just wrap them up in plastic wrap after they're cooked and cooled, and pop them in the freezer and make a great pocket lunch, something to take. Be easy to heat up in the microwave. Just make a fabulous snack. I mean, you could use all sorts of different fillings for them. You wouldn't have to do the hamburger. I mean, you could do ground chicken, kind of whatever kind of spices that you like in your family. Do just a bunch of sautéed veggies and make a vegetarian one, whatever your flavor. So now we're just going to sprinkle with some sesame seeds. As you can see, I'm just putting some on this side. It's not like I really know what I'm doing. But I have every confidence that these are going to taste wonderful when they come out. So these go in the oven at 350 for about 20 minutes. I'm going to put both racks in and then switch them top to bottom and front to back halfway through. And then when they come back, you will see the finished product. So the buns have been cooling for a few minutes and I just cannot wait any longer. Okay, it's still pretty warm, so I am going to hold it as I cut it. As you can see, the bread dough is super tender. Of course it's on the bottom. So yeah, you got super tender bread dough, perfectly nice and fluffy. Oh, it tastes wonderful. Your filling is melted all nice together, and as you can see, you do have a bit of a pocket, so if you wanted to put some diced tomato or fresh onion or pickles or lettuce or whatever else you wanted to, you could certainly do that. But yeah, so that is the ultimate stuffed bun. Oh my god. Okay. I'm happy. I let these cool down. I'm going to individually wrap them in plastic to freeze them so I can just pop one out of the freezer when I want one. Although I have company coming this weekend and I have a feeling they may not last too long. Have a great one, everybody.